This is a look at one play from the Rams-Texans preseason game this year. And look, full disclosure, I'm watching this play because of Jalen Petre. I'm in the middle of a film study about him. Let this play concept run for you. It's a classic Rams play. It's a classic football play. I mean, for real, these are not new concepts. To be honest with you, these are play action concepts built in off the run game. I'll let you guys watch it maybe 2 more times through before I start some of the breakdown of it. Of course, we know Lovie Smith is involved with the Texans now, plays a lot of cover 2, or had played a lot of cover 2 with the Bears and other teams, and is playing a lot of cover 2 now. Like I said, I'm in the middle of a film study about Jalen Petre, and so my interest is generally in what he's doing in the draft process. I had identified him as someone I thought would be a good fit for the Ravens in terms of draft position if they did go with a safety and the value that would have been there. To me, he was a first-round talent in a guy who apparently was going to be a second-round pick in terms of projections. Okay, so let's talk about what you got going on. You got a 4-3 alignment by the Texans with 2 high safeties. You can see that very clearly, and all these linemen are going to work to this side. So you're going to get somewhat consistent reactions from the inside linebackers because that's what this is about. That's where they're trying to create conflict. Let me pull this back just a little bit. That's where they're trying to create conflict right now, where the ball was outstretched. Linebackers can see it if they've got a lane to see it. They can see the flow of the linemen. However, you've got this cross flow. Okay, so you've got the H-back, which I would say is a fullback. I usually refer to the fullback, being in the slot position as an H-back. So I would say this is 21 personnel, but actually on the roster, 49 may be listed as a tight end. So we're not talking about conflict with these guys just yet. There is conflict created with the route combinations. So you got, reactions here, here, and here, matching the angle of the back. All right, I'll let it run a couple of times, right from the point where it's snapped if you want to watch the linebacker's reaction, all right? Just watch all 3 linebackers' reactions repeatedly. This is kind of how I watch film and how a lot of people do, just to train my brain on what's happening. I'm not smart enough to see it the first time. Maybe you are. So you can see the Mike is really overrunning this. Now he's going with the back. At some point he recognizes, okay, I'm really out of position for my pass coverage, because I think if you was just to be a drop back pass play, I think the Mike has got to get depth, somewhere in here. You would have reactions like that. But that's the whole point. They're creating conflict with the read because it's play action. So this Mike is out of position. So they've got, additionally, 49 runs like his hair's on fire because he's on the play action. He sees this. I mean, he's really lost. Okay, he's and I don't mean to be disrespectful. He's a really good football player. He's in the NFL, or at least he's playing in preseason games. He's a great football player compared to all of us, but really lost. Okay, so that's the conflict that's created for the inside linebackers. They're given this threat, and then the quarterback, play action off of it, and in some cases booting out the opposite direction, which is probably what 49 thought was occurring. The H-back, excuse me, 40. I'm talking about this 49, inside linebacker. He probably thought the H-back was going to go out into the flats here. All right, so that's probably why he's he's moving on this path, to match it here. Once he recognizes that it's pass. All right, let's talk about the routes. You do have the running back slipping out here. You got an inside vertical by number 1. And then from the other side, you've got this route here. Now, Ravens fans, you probably recognize this because we run it. We run it a lot. We generally are running it with the tight end, though, which is Mark Andrews, who lined up a little closer to the formation. Let me pull this back so you can see it. So normally for us, it will be run with this guy here. And it wouldn't be a zone scheme, at least prior to 2022. A lot of us suspect that there's going to be more zone schemes in the Ravens offense. But so in any case, slightly different in terms of who is running this route. If you remember against the Vikings at home, the first touchdown that Kirk Cousins threw up top was on this route. Chuck Clark as the safety to this side, ran with this route here, we weren't playing cover two, and then Marlon Humphrey was all alone with the vertical up the left side, up the numbers. So Jalen Petre is seeing the route develop across his face, across the field, but he's unsure. He could have double crossers. He could have this, and he could have a second crosser coming to him. So he doesn't want to betray his half field responsibility. So he's pointing to the other side, but he's got no linebacker help because the linebackers are, all confused by. Excuse me. There's one there, and then two here. They're all two here. They're all confused by the play action element to it. It's a classic, concept that's been around forever. I'm hopefully going to be able to, before the regular season starts, create a video or complete a video comparing this system, the stretch, and then play action system off of it. Some people call it Shanahan system, McVay system, to the wing T. I'm going to try to compare it to the wing T because in the wing T, you have very concrete movement patterns. So you would normally have two backs in the backfield, and one of them would be going this way. And if it was buck sweep, and he's getting the ball, he's going to put his foot in the ground and go downhill. So his feet would have been here, okay, for the original alignment. Quarterback would open and either give to the halfback or boot out on the waggle. I'm not talking about the fullback and all the other elements of it. So it's this. Let me get rid of some of these lines. My apologies. So you got this real classic, cross motion with the running back and the quarterback. And what you would be looking for as a coach in the wing T is you'd be looking for linebackers moving with the running back, and then, that sets up your waggle play off of it. And then the classic waggle play, guess what you have? You have, sometimes you get a clear out route. Oftentimes it's a post corner. Forgive that line not being drawn perfectly. On the backside, you get a post, and then you get a drag or a shallower post by the tight end. And so I just drew it up opposite to what you see here for convenience for me. Guess what you've got? You've got the play action to this side, quarterback booting off of it, and then some throwback here to the X. So, the concepts are the same, are similar, but in some cases slightly different because, the quarterback isn't designed to boot off of it. What's the point? I'm going to try to bring you guys one play content like this during the season. Typically on Wednesdays, on Tuesdays, my plan is to do mostly Ravens content, break down a couple of possessions, which I did in 2021. Do some defensive stuff, maybe focus on some of the rookies. Do something interesting from somewhere else in the NFL, maybe late Tuesday night, but Wednesdays are generally going to be one-play stuff. So if you're interested in that, let me know and tune into the channel, obviously. If you have any suggestions about how to make the content better, by all means, go ahead. You see, by the way, getting back to the video, you see a very clear, idea of the cover two. You have a corner here, the two safeties back here that I drew in between the numbers and the hash. Your linebackers being, guys that are separated from their coverage responsibility because of the conflict they're put in. Those concepts, we all love throwing the ball. I do too. But there are inherent benefits to systems like this that utilize the play action. Got to make the run game work, obviously. And there comes a time, we saw it in the Super Bowl with the Rams, where the run game isn't as successful as normal, and you've got to get in the shotgun, and you've got to become a team that throws the ball 65, 68% of the time, something like that. That happens sometimes, especially when you're facing a defense like the Bengals in the Super Bowl, who were just on a roll in terms of being able to stop the run out of their nickel coverage. Beautiful concept here, if you ask me. From a Jalen Petre's perspective, last point here, would we like to be able to say, hey, you've got to go with that, that deep crosser, and you've got to handle that? Yeah, we would. But again, he's got eye discipline. He's looking for, it's going to be difficult to pick him up. He's clearly picked up this over route because you see him pointing at it. You'd like to see him maybe start to move in this direction, but this pass is going to be complete either way, regardless of Jalen Petre's reaction to it once the route develops. Now, if you want to talk about, what should his reaction be when number 2 blocks? Number 2 is this tight end who's in the slot. If you want to watch that a couple times, again, keep your eyes on that tight end slot that I highlighted there for a moment. He's clearly pass proing. So now if you want to talk about it from a standpoint of, okay, Jalen, you're seeing the tight end block and number 1 is the only route happening here. Let's go ahead and take that. Yeah, fine, go right ahead. I would offer you to that leverage wise, this, no matter what he does, because he's hedged out horizontally towards the sideline, this pass is going to be completed. That's just what I think. And I have a couple other examples of them playing the same coverage and him playing it a little bit differently later on in the game. Let me know what you think of these one-play reviews, what you think of my thoughts on that concept being classic, old as dirt, timeless, and something that the Rams and other teams are improving on with design and some of the eye candy that they give people, especially on the second level. The conflict that's created for the inside linebackers is a pain in the butt to deal with, and it's a pain in the butt to coach against. One last point, I kind of made it sound simplistic, I think maybe, for this guy here. All right, keep in mind, it could be zoned to this or stretched to this side with the H-back going away, okay, which wouldn't be necessarily inside zone, but it shows this guy a look of the H-back going away and the running back coming to me. Could be stretched to my side. Could be play action like what it actually is. Could be inside zone with a little bit, different path where he's fitting it off of the kick-out block by the H-back. But conversely, and what my original point here with getting back to the film for a moment was, it could be to the other side, all right? So pre-snap, he doesn't know. He's got 2 tight ends or an H-back and a tight end. He doesn't know if it's stretched to him, stretch away. If it's split zone, I said inside zone earlier. I should have said split zone. Split zone, where you got the kick-out block here, and then, a little tighter track, and then him winding this back off of all the zone blocks, which will be working to the right. So a lot of conflict created pre-snap, a lot of conflict created post-snap during the play. You see the confusion. I know we're not dealing with starters across the board, certainly Jalen Petre, and at least 2 other guys that are going to play a lot for the Texans on defense, Derek Stingley being one of them. Let me know what you think of this video and the one-play concept. I know I talked 12 minutes about one play. That's not typically what I do. Typically, we're looking at 10, 12, 14 plays over a 20, 22-minute period. Let me know what you think of this so far. If you have any other plays from the preseason you'd like to see, please let me know.